Okay, we're going to make another heel tab sock, but this time toe up. And I'll be using the KB His sock loom from the His and Her sock loom set. 64 pegs. Use however many pegs that you need to use. This isn't geared towards an absolute beginner. I'm just not organized enough for that. But it's just going to demonstrate how to do this toe up. I have these silicone ring stitch markers. They're flexible. I like them for these fine gauge looms. That it just tends to fit the space better because they have give to them. So I have my beginning of round marked with a different color, orange. Then these yellows, they're marking, you know, the halfway point here. And then these are how far I'm going to do my decreases down to for my heel. And then work back out, leaving these, you know, unworked as far as not decreased. And then the green is when I'm going to do the heel tab. I'm going to be working from these to these over 5 stitches. So I'm going to, you know, these are doubling. If you don't want your toe seam on the top of your sock, you'll need to mark off like I have for my heel. I have this for my heel and my toe. You'll want it on the opposite side. So if you do your toe on this side, do your heel on the other. So, well, this is set up for the heel and the heel tab, or for the heel tab. So if you had it set up this way, your opposite side you will set up for your toe. And then that would put the seam underneath. I like mine on the top. So that's what I'll be demonstrating. This is the heel tab. The toe and the heel on here are German short row. This is just wrap and turn for this section. I have 10 rounds before I do the decreasing and then increasing back out for the heel tab, and then another 10 rounds. And then I pull my first round back up, put it back on the pegs, and bind them off together. And that's how I finish that sock. These are, it's a little time consuming, but they're handy. So you're not hunting. It's kind of, it's not a big space to hunt in here for that little, the back loop of your first row, the back loop of the stitch of your first row, to pull them back up. So when you work your first round of your cuff, put a locking stitch marker on each loop that's on the front of the peg, each loop, and then your next round, knit them off. Knit those stitch markers to the inside. So I guess instead of using your loom tool, you can just pick that locking stitch marker up and knit it over, you know, your working yarn. So they're all going to be inside the sock, and it's not going to look nice or feel nice or anything like that for a little while. But when it comes time to put them back on, you just grab each stitch marker. And like me, on this first sock, I started with, you know, one color on my first peg, my beginning of round peg, and I ended with a different color. So visually, I just had to look. I didn't have to like pull it out and follow the line down to get the correct stitch marker. To pull it back up, I could just look at it because, you know, a different color. Just makes it a little bit easier. And after you pull them all up on the end, you're gonna take the stitch markers off and then do your stretchy bind off like that. Okay, and yeah, did I show the row counter? Scissors, and loom in your tool. If you could do this same setup, like I'm gonna do five pegs each side for the heel tab. If you want less, do less. But if you want it a little wider, you can do that. It doesn't matter. And if you're doing 56 peg, 60 peg, 64 like I am, you can still just do, you know, like I have 5 stitches from, you know, the last heel decrease or toe, whatever, to this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would work the same. Okay. Now let's see if I can limp through this cast on. If this camera bounces, it's because it's just not real stable. So I apologize. I'm trying here. Okay. So I take the opposite from my beginning of round. That's where I'm going to start my cast on. Drop my yarn through. I want it long enough that I can have a grip on it. Then I start counterclockwise. I go past my halfway peg, so I'm starting with what would be peg 33, if this is peg 1 with the orange. Counterclockwise around it, and then start weaving back and forth around each peg. And just take your time. My cat just jumped on the table. Take your time so that you don't miss a peg. And do every one of them. Oops. Okay, come out on the side of my first peg, and let me back up. No, I came in closer. I don't know, it got clear. Anyway, so now just push these down. And you're gonna knit off this cast on just to lock it in place. I just flatten it. So all the way around. When you knit this peg next to your first one, it also just locks that first peg. If my Kitchener cast on, that's what this is, by the way. If it's hard to follow, there's some really good videos out there on YouTube that demonstrate it. Cat, stop it. Max. Max. Sorry. This is going to be unedited just like my other videos. So I apologize. It's not going to be great. Okay, yeah, just knit this off all the way around till you're back to the starting peg. When I get down here close to this tail, you know, it's just loose right here. I like it long, so I just kind of hold it in place whenever I I knit off. I don't, excuse me, know if it matters. It's just something that I've always done. I don't use those anchor pegs or whatever they are. Okay, so I'm going to pause and be back after I've got that knit off. Okay, so my cast on is all locked now, and I'm ready to start the heel immediately. And this is going to be German short row heel, or heel, I'm sorry, toe. We're starting the toe. The heel is going to be worked exactly the same as the toe, except we won't have to close it. So I'm going to knit from peg 1 all the way to peg 32. Sorry, I'm slow going. Because I'm used to holding it against my body. And I'm doing kind of a unit stitch, a little stretchier than a flat. Okay, this is 32, and after I knit that, I'm going to pull my yarn back tight so it looks like 2 loops, and go to the second peg, back to the peg beside it, and knit that off. And then what I do is pull that out. I pull slack in it. It'll disappear, but it just helps me making these. They just get so tight that like you could break your pegs. Anyway, now I'm going all the way back to peg 1. We'll do the same. So I will see you when I'm there. Pardon my meowing cat when you hear him. I'm coming back to almost to peg 1. Max. Okay, now I'm going to pull it. Same thing I did on the other end. Knit it off. I think my cat has dementia. He's really old. And he does this at night. Alright, now you're just going to keep going back. Now you're going to go all the way. I have a mess here. Go back to the peg next to to this one, you're going to do what you did here, and then just keep decreasing all the way down to these pegs that you have marked off, leaving, like I have 10 left in the middle that I'm not going to decrease. So these will be the last ones that I decrease. Whatever you're doing on your loom, work to there. Just keep going back and forth, and I will be back when it's time to do the increasing. Okay, so I'm on the final last couple of decreases. So now when I pull this one and knit the one beside it, I'm not going to tug, I'm not going to pull any slack in it like I did the others. There's just no need for that because that was the last decrease. And then knit over to the other one. I knit faster when I knit in my lap, hold it in my lap. So hold your loom however is comfortable for you. I'm just trying to get this where you can see it, hopefully. Okay, the final decreased peg. Knit. Alright, now we're going to just go and start increasing back out. So just each one back and forth. And get over there. And the first ones that you do, these, like the ones that are marked here, they're going to be the toughest to get over. The other ones aren't as difficult. So I just gently work at it. You'll see when I get there. But it takes effort. Alright, so I'm here now, and it's gonna take some effort to, and you want to keep your working yarn taut and pulled down behind it so you don't pull it off as you work this over. This is only with German short row that you will have this, that be so tight like that. And like I said, it's this peg that's going to be tight, and this peg, they're going to be the hardest to do. So after you knit that off, go behind and around the next. Behind the peg you just knit off, and then your yarn in front of the next one. And knit them off. Flat knits faster too, but I do want a little more stretch in my sock. for the next one. Alright. I'm holding my yarn pretty tight behind it, and I'm going to work this over. Got it. I'll go back and do the next one so you can see it's not quite as difficult. Just those ones, you just want to be careful. If you were using, I used a cotton yarn before, cotton sock yarn, and it broke on me. I've never had wool break on me there, but, or the acrylic sock yarns, but the cotton one did, and it was kind of frustrating. So just be careful. You got to use force, but you can just kind of gently work it. So here's, this one goes over a lot easier. You still got to hold your yarn, your working yarn on, so it doesn't pull off as you knit over. But yep, go back and forth each one as you come to when you do it. So you knit it off, then take your yarn behind the peg you knit off and over the next one, knit back. Just do that back and forth until you have your first peg still needs to be worked, and your halfway point, the last marked one, your first marked and your last marked. When you get to that, you're just gonna go, you're gonna start working your rounds, and that's when I start counting. So I'll come back whenever I'm there. Okay, so I've increased back out to where I just still have the first peg and the halfway point peg. Come on, focus. To do. So this is where I'm going to start my rounds. I'm going to count it as round 1, and I'm just going to knit all the way in the round. Now these can be a little bit tricky, your first few rounds. This side of the loom can be, you know, a little messy because you've got all these strings. So I just kind of hold them down as I knit. I can kind of put pressure in here to keep this a little more taut as I knit off. Let's see, let me get around there. I'll come back when I'm at that side. Okay, so I'm getting there. I'm gonna, I tend to just hold on to this tail. If you're hearing a lot of noise, I have a lot of animals. And even though it's the middle of the night, they're all active right now. And I'm doing this in the middle of the night so that it's cool enough that I don't have to run the air conditioning and have it be loud. Okay, so tug that tail back down. Yeah, so knitting these off, I would just kind of put pressure with my other hand, kind of pull in here. It's not hurting anything. By the way, that's the toe. And then the heel would be exactly the same, like I said, except you don't have to close it. You won't have to close it like you do the toe. So just knit around. Yeah, it wants to come up, so you just keep it taut. Again, I knit against my belly. So it's like, it's less awkward than this. Bless you. That was a big sneeze. But anyway, so just keep it taut as you knit. But this is the start of your working on your foot now. So I'm gonna knit off about 20 rounds, 25 rounds, and then I'm gonna come back and close the toe then. So when I have enough length that it's kind of coming out from the loom, I'll come back and close the toe, which is tedious. It's you just kind of go slow, a little time consuming, but we'll do that. And then you're just essentially still just working the length of the foot as long as you need it. For me, it's going to be 70 rounds with this yarn on this loom. I'm going to do 70 rounds, and then I'm going to make my heel. And the same way I did the toe. And after the heel, I worked 5 rounds of knit all around for like a very, very short leg, and then started the cuff. And I reset my counter for each face. So my counter's going for the foot. I don't count for the toe or the heel. And then I'm going to reset my counter when after I've done the heel and it's the time for the leg. I'll reset it, count my 5 rounds, then reset it for counting the rounds of my cuff. And remember, the first round of the cuff is when we're gonna knit that, and then put those locking stitch markers on every loop. So for me, it's gonna be 64. Yeah, so I will be back when it's time to close the toe, and then that's gonna be the end of this video. This will be the first video, and the second video will come up when I'm finishing the heel. I'm not going to re-demonstrate this because the heel is the same. And there's also, I demonstrated German short row heel in my other playlist for the cuff down heel tab sneaker sock. It's in there. It's in 2 parts. There's a heel increasing or decreasing and increasing, and it's for a German short row. It's the same, so if you want to check that out. So essentially I'm just showing you kind of the cast on, how to the German short row toe, how to close the toe, and then we'll be back for the leg and the cuff, the heel tab cuff, and how to do all that. And it's, you know, a little bit tedious, but it's not terrible, and everything is done on the loom. Like, you're not transferring any stitches to needles and having to do anything like that. So, okay, we'll be back when it's time to close the toe. Okay, I'm on round 21 now, so I'm going to go ahead and close the toe. I'm taking that off for now. The way I close mine, stick my finger in here. So this is, we don't start at the end with the tail. We start at the other end. So we're going to be tightening them up. So I start over here, and while they're short, I use my loom tool and get them in order and just tug them. I tend to tug kind of tight. And then after it's longer, just use my fingers. You can keep it flat. Some they'll tug at the top, pull at the top. The next one will go at the bottom. And they're just going to get longer and longer, but we are closing the toe. So it gets kind of awkward the longer they get. I don't recommend going fast like this if you have a really yarn that wants to pill or felt or whatever. You know, you kind of want to go slow, and you'll go slower when it gets longer too, when this that you're pulling, because it can tangle on itself. I pull a little bit. I pull tight. The idea is not to pull tight, but I just kind of always do. I can try not to pull so tight. Like ideally, it would be invisible when it was done. I'm just grabbing them in order. They won't pull right if you get them out of order. Just wanting to get messy. See, it's getting long. There's no need to rush this step. Take as much time as you need to get it done without tangling. Just keep being patient the longer that it gets. Oh, nope, I had that right the first time. I tried to cross them. I'm trying to keep it from being tangly. Gotta be careful when we're getting to the end because you don't want to pull those tight. When you're pulling this way, like if you pulled this part of it, you'll pull that tight. You don't want to do that yet. You want to still be able to get those. Oh, come on. And now I gotta dig for it. I think it's right here. No. It's right here. It's okay, you can use your loom tool to get in there and tug a little bit until you get it'll pull easily. I think now this one. This will be the last one, and then our tail. Ooh, I'm pulling the wrong way. This is the last one. And our tail will pull it all the way through. Now the tail. I'm going to leave that much for weaving in. So there's a lot left over. It's kind of a lot of yarn waste, but you can use it for scrappy stuff or save it for darning if you need to. It's quite a bit, but our toe is closed. I'm going to go ahead and pop this inside so it's ready to go when I'm done and weaving stuff in. There. Toe is done. That might relax some when I soak it and block it. I don't know. The other one did. So now you're just going to keep going in the round the whole length of the length that you need for your foot. And then do your German short row heel. And the next video is going to start when I'm almost, when I'm at the end of the heel and getting ready to start the leg. And it's very late for me, 2 in the morning. Okay, we'll see you in the next one.